We're at Lagos TechFest in Nigeria in early 2023. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. My name is Burrowes. I'm actually the co-founder of Ingressive for Good. Our goal basically is to increase the earning power of African youth who are passionate about a career in technology. And if you can tell, I'm a Mississippi guy, country boy born and bred in the African continent.
I think that's a hashtag we have to include, Mississippi in the house in Lagos.
Yes.
Now you came here, you said to Ghana when you knew precisely one person on the continent?
I knew one person, and I was actually able to build a network from there. It was not any way near what I thought it was going to be, but one of the most fulfilling experiences of my life.
Should everybody do something that crazy, go to a continent where they know almost nobody and start something new?
Depending on what age or what point in life you are, I would definitely say try it. It's an amazing way to figure out who you really are and who you really want to be and how people perceive you.
Roger that. I completely agree. Now, the next question would be, do you want to describe one more time the name of your organization and how you make money? You're partnered with a VC fund.
Yeah.
Is that right? So are you for-profit, not for-profit?
I'm definitely nonprofit. So basically the company's name is Ingressive for Good. Our sister company is called Ingressive for Capital. What ended up happening basically is that when we started the VC in 2018, we thought the biggest problem was access to capital. What we really started finding that when capital hit ground was that they couldn't find the talent they needed to scale and launch and push their companies. So in that space, that's where we launched the nonprofit to mass produce technical talent for African startups.
And you're reaching, how many is it per cohort?
We have the capacity to train up to 100,000 people per cohort. As it stands right now, we launched in July 2020. We have a community of 250,000 African youth across 200 countries. We've trained 160,000 of them.
Time out, 200 countries, Africa has 54.
Yes, so Africans, especially Nigerians, move and live everywhere. Just because they're in a different country does not mean they're still not experiencing certain things. A lot of people, you hear stories, people selling their houses, giving up everything they can just to get overseas, just to live a better life. So just because you get to another country doesn't mean your problems are over.
Okay, so thanks for clarifying, Seth. So 200 countries, I guess that's 193 UN recognized countries, plus a few places that are counted as countries that might not be member states of the UN, but that's how you get to 200.
Exactly. One of our partners actually asked us to help somebody out in Afghanistan during the pullout of US forces. So
wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who need a lot of help, and again, since we've launched a very efficient virtual deployment of learning technical skills, we can help anybody.
What makes you different and better than anybody else at what you do?
I think because we have a VC DNA, our sister company is Ingressive Capital, which is a $10 million fund one, $50 million fund two. But we understand what type of talent that these startups and companies need. We understand what you need, and internally we're looking at venture building, and we use that to apply how we want to create and develop talent.
And how much does it cost the students?
It costs the students nothing, but if you want to donate and help somebody out, it may cost you $50 to give somebody a monetizable tech skill.
And what's the success rate on placement? Do you keep track? Do you have an estimate on 6 months after finishing a cohort? How many are employed? What percentage?
That is the challenge of 2023. The first 2 years were focused on building the rails to mass produce the technical training efforts. We have placed thousands of jobs, but it doesn't compare to how many people we've trained. But again, that's our challenge for this year. So our goal for this year is to place 3,000 people in jobs.
Okay, and we are competing with Bob Marley in the background. So I really hope that all of this great, I know, well, in terms of volume, yes. I really hope the microphone picked up everything that we've been saying. This is fascinating. Can we have like 2 more minutes of big takeaways? Okay, so you basically built the rails. Are you using an existing platform, something like, without endorsing any given product? Do you use an existing platform?
I don't mind endorsing if that's okay with you.
I don't have a problem with it.
Okay, so basically we've partnered with organizations like DataCamp, Coursera. There's also Zuri, which is a company that we helped kind of put together and drive funding to them.
Zeri?
Zuri. So basically that's our main partner, and that's where we do a lot of our heavy lifting. We've also partnered with like entry level and so many different companies. The difference is that when we come in, we allow our partners to focus on doing what they do best and train. So we're the ones that are building and aggregating the communities and driving them to their platforms. We're collecting the data to understand where do we need to make immediate shifts. So in the middle of a program, we can often kind of change and make certain additions that helps it become more effective. And where I'd say that kind of shines is that we are pushing towards having a 70% completion rate for free programs.
70%, that's pretty ambitious.
Which is unheard of, yeah.
And how long does it take to complete a training?
3 to 6 months. Typically the first 3 to 4 months is working on the learning aspects of it, and then the last part is focused on actually doing a project that you can use for your portfolio.
And then they get hired, and including some of the capital, the VC funds portfolio of companies will sometimes hire that talent. Is that right?
Sometimes, yeah. So we push them into there. We're working with corporates. Basically, our goal, what we typically do is we have this group we call I4G alumni. Once they graduate, we push them into this group, and there we give them additional support like soft skills training. We have industry professionals come and teach them things like interviewing, and then we push about 30 to 40 jobs in there per week. The problem is finding enough jobs for all the people that graduate in that very competitive space.
Consider this video to be my application to potentially be a guest teacher on your platform. Babson, I hope it doesn't violate any non-compete promises I may have made. So let's see. Let's cover the big 5 legal issues that I always cover in my law courses.
Okay.
What's the most important thing you've learned about entity formation? The choice of a legal form for a new organization. You've formed something.
Yes.
You formed it with other people.
Yes.
Was there no doubt in your mind you wanted to form yours as a nonprofit? What about the issues of being a nonprofit with a sister that's a VC fund? Can you educate us about
this is very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So there's a very unique relationship between Ingressive for Good and Ingressive Capital. The for-profit the nonprofit cannot benefit the for-profit. So for anything that we do for Ingressive Capital, we have to do for every VC that steps on our thing. It's even if we do something for them, we have to go and immediately find another VC and go do the same thing if we haven't done it before.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I should totally tell any VC friends I may know about your platform.
Yes, and if you're looking for talent, please come to us.
Okay.
What we found out is, especially in the space of launching a nonprofit, we did it primarily. It started off as a for-profit venture under our advisory firm. So we're the ones that attracted TechScars, Y Combinator. We launched GitHub and Figma in the African continent. But we found out that basically to open ourselves up to another source of funding, it made more sense to transition into a nonprofit. And what you'll find if you look very deeply is most of your major for-profit companies always have a nonprofit.
Interesting. All right, next topic will be, so that was already interesting, intellectual property. Is it protected, or are you kind of open source? What would happen if somebody just copied your content? Do you prevent your teachers from using content they develop for you on their own platform? Do you have any rules in place, policies, licenses?
No. The way we feel is like we don't need to be the person in the room wearing the big hat. Like, we are here for the impact. So if you do take something from us and you use it, please just come back and say, hey, I used this thing to help 5 or 10 people get jobs, or I used your content, or I used your whatever you did to create a community of 10,000 people, just so we can add it to our record so we know that what we're doing is actually working. But the more the merrier. If you can use it, if we can help you, I'm more than happy to do it.
So it sounds like more of an open source approach than
definitely
putting a wall around your ideas.
Exactly. People have also helped us as well, so we can't just take something that's helped us and then just hold on to it. So yeah.
Third big topic, let's talk about contracts. What have you learned about deals, contracts, negotiation, anything related to these things called agreements? You can't do anything in this life.
Don't slack. No matter how good you want to do, or like just be very diligent about the contracts that you create. Everybody's not always operating in good faith, no matter what you see. So just if it's taking an online course, or if it's taking this class here with this wonderful gentleman here, please understand how agreements work. Unless you've been hurt before, you never really understand how people can kind of use just small changes in words and different things can put you in a very precarious situation.
Okay, and the last 2 topics, very broadly, the topic of torts, or what happens when your service or product hurt people. So, and I sometimes relate that to the general topic as well of conflict. Generally, we have conflict when somebody feels hurt in some way.
Yeah.
So, have you learned anything about resolving conflict, or has your product or service hurt anybody? Is there anything you want to say about either of those 2 sort of related issues? Or is there a way you control for potential harm?
Yes. So basically, we do share a lot of terms and conditions with our community members and different things when they are entering into some of our programs. We try to be very deliberate about what you can and what you cannot do, what you should and what you should not expect, and different things like that. Because again, everybody's living their own individual experience, and you never know how things you say or do could hurt somebody or impact somebody. So it's better just to set the expectation as best you can from the beginning through your terms and conditions. Have a lawyer on retainer just in case to ask questions, to be able to say, hey, I don't know how this is going to work. Could you give me a bit more insight? Those type of things. Always be ready to protect yourself because, especially from the U.S. perspective, it's a very litigious society. So just be ready.
And you have clients in the U.S.?
Yes. So, we are a U.S. Delaware Incorporated nonprofit.
Huh. Last topic.
Yes.
The last topic is working with other human beings.
Yes.
So sometimes we cover the idea that you can employ people as independent contractors or as full-time employees, like an extension of you, like an agent.
Yes.
So I'm going to guess that you hire, if you do pay your teachers, do you pay your teachers?
So we look at it like an event, right? So we're going to pay for an event. We're going to pay for a certain set of
So it's more
activities
like
to happen, right?
a service or activity, so they're independent contractors?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Is there anybody that you have as full-time employees?
Yeah. So we have a team of 15 people. Most of our team is located here in Nigeria, with a few based in different African countries. But yeah, we hire full-time employees, we hire interns, and then we also have contractors that we hire in different countries because it makes it just kind of a bit simpler on the tax side and different things like that. Because it can get quite complicated hiring and working with people in different countries if you don't understand how those work, how those environments work. So yeah, we do have contractors, we do have full-time employees as well.
Okay, and this might be the last question, unless you really want to throw something else out to the universe. You're formed as a nonprofit in Delaware,
yes,
headquartered in Nigeria, in Lagos.
Yes.
That's okay with the U.S.? You can do that under Delaware law, form a nonprofit with headquarters in Africa?
Yeah, you just have to be straightforward with what you're going to be doing. Because keep in mind, even the U.S. government has operations and different things here in the continent. So if you look at like American Corners, American Spaces, American Shelves, these are all programs run by the U.S. Embassy and the U.S. Consul General that basically open up to help and provide impact in different countries around the world. And I think they have about 500 or so of those just spread across the place. So there is a foreign policy that the U.S. has that is meant to help impact different countries, and we fall within that space.
This is fascinating. Okay. Is there a reason that it's good to have a nonprofit formed under Delaware law, even though you started out on this continent?
Well, we started off. We always have the U.S. iteration set up, but again,
why? What's the advantage?
Because nobody
trust with donors. The donors
trust
feel
with donors.
So,
Let's say that
so
way.
Donors in the United States
So
feel more comfortable giving money to a Delaware-based nonprofit.
Very difficult to just directly send money from, let's say, the U.S. or the U.K. to a Nigerian entity. So having it set up in the U.S., there's a clear track record. There's clear transparency. The money came here. It's tracked under U.S. laws, and then when we transfer it to Nigeria to operate in some cases, then there's also more transparency there, so everybody sees where the money is going. Okay. No surprises, no issues.
Brilliant. And to echo something that was said earlier, that also is something that they brought up for startups. That remember that investors like to see a company formed under Delaware law, just because that's what they're used to seeing.
That feels safer.
It's not actually the best from a tax rate perspective. I don't think. Somebody feel free to correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But I was looking at corporate tax rates around the United States. I don't think they have the lowest.
It may not be the lowest, but in Delaware you can set up your corporation there in like 57 seconds, give or take.
It's not uncommon in a few states. But to wrap up, last thing you want to throw out to the universe about things you've learned about working in Africa. Do you want to say anything about Nigeria? Do you want to myth bust about anything related to Lagos, Nigeria, Africa? Is there just a message that you want somebody to remember if they forget everything else we talked about?
See the world as something bigger than yourself. Everything doesn't revolve around you. Find a way to make this world a better place. What I found as somebody that came from the country in Mississippi is that some of the things we were complaining about there are some of the complaints that I heard here, just from a different context. So it's not as hard as you think to help. It's not as hard as you think to have real impact in this world. And yeah, you can actually get paid doing it. So find that way, find your space, find your lane. You can change the world.
Perfect. There's a colleague that would echo exactly what you're saying, and I hope she sees this, that also from the rural south of the United States. And one of her big points is the issues are the same
Everywhere you go.
of equity, of challenges related to lack of equity, and so it's fantastic that you made that connection. One more time, your name?
My name is Sean Burrowes. I am the co-founder of Ingressive for Good. Glad to meet you.
Thank you so much for this. That was spot on. It was perfect. Much longer than a TikTok video.
Definitely.
But you had so much wisdom, so thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, take care.
All right.